Today I'm talking to Caroline Bean with Compass in Houston, Texas. Caroline has been a real estate agent since 2011, consistently doubling her business every year. To maintain this level of growth, her formula, intended or not, is what most might consider counterintuitive. In her first interview with us, episode 133, she talked about keeping it simple, doubling your business. That's exactly what she does. In her interview today, we talk about her relationships, conversations with clients, her business deals, her negotiating, her marketing, and all in all, her style. She doesn't pitch, prospect, or ask for referrals. She wins without the pitch. Today, we talk about how she does it. Thanks for listening to the Jere Metcalf podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. This podcast was created for real estate agents across the country to come together, sharing ideas to take your, their, and our business to the next level. All right, everybody, it's the Jere Metcalf podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. And today we have Caroline Bean of Compass in Houston, Texas, a top producer who we have had on before, who has doubled her business and keeps doubling her business, is doubling it again this year. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about how she's positioned herself in her in the respect of marketing to do so well. So that said, Caroline, thank you so much for coming and being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me back. I really appreciate it.
Love your insight, love your discipline, love your approach, everything. So we're going to dig into that more today. Before we do that, remind everybody a little bit about, of course, you're in Houston, you're with Compass. How long have you been with Compass? How long have you been in the business? And just to refresh us on how you got in the business.
Yeah. So I am coming up on a year at Compass. We launched the Houston office the week before Thanksgiving last year. So we are rolling up right on our year anniversary. I was with a smaller boutique firm prior to joining Compass, and I started there in 2011. So I have really grown my career in the last few years, especially just with a great amount of support from past clients, referrals, my support team that I have helping me do my day in and day out, whether it's in the office or in my personal life. I always had a passion for real estate. I grew up with my stepdad as a home builder, my mom an interior designer, and it was always something that I wanted to pursue. When I got out of college was when we had our recession, so that was not the best time to go. And I took a few years to do just a job to get me on my feet, doing client relations and sales, and eventually decided that I wanted to get my real estate license, and that was how I began my career. I worked for a top producing agent, and then did a floating assistant position for a year, and then I went out on my own. And
so you did it right. You had a sales job, you were organized, you worked for a successful agent, and then you became successful. I just fell into this and thought I was going to do referrals. The next thing I'm like, it's like you try to drug and you can't stop. And that's how and then I made every mistake.
Yeah. And that's the hardest. Is the best piece of advice I think someone gave me before I went out on my own was that just because you think you have a lot of friends doesn't mean every single one of those friends is going to use you to buy a house. And it's been 100% accurate. There are plenty of friends that have chosen to go different paths, whether it's, because they want to keep their things separate or they want to use an agent that they think is more versed in that neighborhood. But for me, I don't take it personally. I think it's sometimes better to keep friendships and business apart. I obviously love working with my friends and I like making friends with new clients, but I never question someone's decision when they are making one of the biggest purchases of their life on how they want to handle it and who they want to help represent them, because everybody has their reason for making that decision.
Exactly. And I love that you say that, because I think, in our business, I say this a lot, but we feel a lot of pressure to do a lot of deals, and our clients or potential clients or friends or associates shouldn't feel that same kind of pressure. And we shouldn't put that pressure on ourselves. And I think having that perspective and that respect is what makes you successful. I know there have been a lot of people that have hired me because they've mentioned that about me, or I'm sure you, and when they don't hire you, it's often that's where you get more referrals than you would have ever gotten out of that one deal because of the way you handled the decision, respect of the decision somebody made.
Absolutely. And you never want somebody to hire you because they feel like they have to. I always want someone to
That's
hire
the worst way to start a relationship, right?
I want someone to hire me because they either know me personally and think that I will do a great job representing them, or they have heard from a previous client that I will, do a great job taking care of them. So that really is, something that has stuck with me since when I started, is that I cannot get upset or get my feelings hurt if a friend chooses to use a different agent or chooses not to use an agent at all. Everybody makes their decision on what works best for them. And it's, obviously it's a hard pill to swallow when you're getting into the business, but at this point in my career, I'm so happy with the way things have turned out that I want people to want to use me, not to feel like they have to use me.
Exactly. So today we've talked a little bit about, you definitely have a more strategic approach than I think a lot of agents, and just what you said, and you're not going after the business so directly at people just because you know them. Mm-hmm. So how do you, and I know you've got a lot of interesting things going on that you're going to share with us today, but how do you position yourself? How do you prospect? And what do you think your style and your strength is in winning that business, when I think the stereotype and the kind of subconscious belief of everyone is you've got to just go after everybody and be so aggressive. And right. You've been so successful with kind of the opposite mindset about it.
Yeah. For me, if I get asked to go on a listing presentation and I know that there's other agents interviewing for the position, I'm not going to go in there and sell everything under the sun to them and, say I'll do this for free or do that or help you do this. I want someone to hire me for our relationship that we're going to build together, and then also for my expertise in the business. So I go into a listing with the mindset that I'm going to show them everything that I can do for their home, previous examples of how I market my properties, and what their expectations of me can be. So, and if that works for them, great. And if they find another agent that walks in the door that promises things that they can sell their house higher when it shouldn't be that way, or whatever the case is, then that's fine. They might be disappointed at the end of the day. But again, this year has been really heavy set on listings, and most of them have been referrals. A few of them have been presentations that I've given where they have not gone with another agent. And one of the most recent ones was a call I got. I had sold a house down the street from the neighbor, and he had called me and said, I was going to go with this other agent, but I'd really like you to come over and I'd really like to talk to you. I see that you sold this house and I want to know more about Compass. And we went down there and had a great long meeting. By the end of it, he said, look, I really like you. I really like what you do. I'd like to give you the listing. And I think, too, a lot of the times when it depends on what type of person you're working with and how certain people think in terms of their, if they're a feelings thinker or if they are a business thinker. So it depends on that type of personality that you get. But for this guy, we connected really well. And I think when you sign a listing agreement, you're also signing up to basically interact and have a business and personal relationship with that person. So that has to click. And if somebody doesn't click with their agent in terms of trying to, be on the same page about values and in the, all of the aspects that go into selling or buying a house for that matter, then it's not going to line up, and you're always going to be butting heads about certain things. So I think having that initial connection with somebody is very helpful too. And I think sometimes that can win deals.
When you do, so on the listing presentation, and then I'm going to back up to everybody and get a little bit of a picture of your broader branding and marketing. But on that listing presentation, when you go to a listing, when you have a listing presentation, is it for you, is it I show up and have a conversation, or do you have a system and a process from they call and these action steps happen all the way to the meeting and after the meeting until they sign the agreement?
I pretty much handle every listing presentation the same way, even if I know like I'm the only one they're interviewing and they just want me to come over and help them get their house ready. I always pretty much do the same thing. Compass has a great CMA and listing presentation that we can work with, and we can customize it however we need to. So I normally go in with our nice binder that has all of my marketing materials, the CMA for what I think the house should be priced, different ways that if I think the house needs a Compass concierge project, or if I think the house needs, anything to get it show ready. So I go in with all that information, also previous advertising and marketing materials that I think that they would maybe want to see. And then we go through the process of going through the listing presentation, and then everybody has different questions. Everybody cares more about certain things. Some people are really set on looking at numbers and trying to decide the price, and some people are more focused on marketing and advertising. So I kind of take the lead on which way they prefer to go. And I also like to try and make it, yes, it's a business decision, but I also like to add a little bit of a personal connection in there too, because again, you could be working with this person, talking to this person every day for as long as it takes to sell the listing.
Something you keep saying over and over that I think is key is listen. You say, I listen if they're a feeler or a thinker. I listen, I follow their lead. Are they focused on pricing? Are they focused on CMA? So it's coming in and being receptive, not just coming in and throwing out a presentation and shoving it down their throat, but listening to what it is they really want to hear from you. And do you ever start that with, when you come in, do you come in with questions or do you, how do you kind of like, well, I'm going to back up first. Do you send anything before you get there? Do you send an email or do you send a present, anything?
I typically don't send anything prior to, unless somebody asks me to. Okay. I always leave all the materials with them so they can digest it and then they can have more questions. But again, I really want everything to start off at our first face-to-face meeting. I mean, I know so much stuff is done via email and text in our business now, but I like that personal interaction at the beginning, and I think that's your first impression. So I always try to do everything at that first initial meeting.
That's awesome. So you go into the meeting. Is it kind of and I know I'm getting a little bit detailed here, but I think it helps everybody because I think you have a very unique approach to a lot of agents. And so I think I'd like to kind of dig deep because I think you kind of take it for granted. So I want to pull it out of you.
Okay.
When you go in, do you go in and ask questions? Or are you going in and how is that?
Yeah, I think it's always better to ask a lot of questions initially to kind of feel their initial reaction.
Yeah. And how do you know? Do you have like I kind of have a process of what questions I ask when?
Yeah.
So do you sometimes, and then there's shiny object syndrome, but do you have an initial question that you ask, or do you just kind of get in there and feel it out, or?
Well, a little bit of both. Sometimes some of the questions I ask are on that initial phone call, so I can be prepared to bring the right information. But a lot of them are just your typical questions. What's your time frame of moving? Why are you moving? Just the initial questions, so I can get a sense of where these people are. If it's a really exciting move, or if it's a not so exciting move for personal reasons, whether someone's downsizing or it's a divorce or whatever it may be, I always want to have an understanding of the situation so I can make sure that I move forward accordingly. But I do think that there comes times where I am having to ask questions that I wasn't, planning on asking. Sometimes I've walked into houses and I've been like, oh my gosh, this house needs a lot of work before it gets ready. And that's always a really hard thing to tell a seller is your house is not ready to show if they if they've spent time and they think it's perfect. So that is
my next question. Yeah.
That's where you have to preface it in a way is, well, a lot of the houses in the area that we're seeing selling at these prices have X, Y, and Z. And so you can only say so much without truly stepping over the line. So I think if most people are like, whatever you think will do, and it might not be their style, and they may not want to paint, or they may not want to do certain things. But I think as much as you can say, this will get you the maximum return on your house if you do these items, I think they appreciate it. I think if you start really picking apart their house and really saying negative things about their house, I think that's when it kind of turns in a different direction. So I think as much as you can say things and be as positive as possible will go a long way.
Exactly. And do you have any advice for that? Because sometimes I feel like no matter how positive I'm trying to spin it, I can just be blunt because I don't know how else to get the point across. And I don't want to, you don't want to, or I'm too nice and it doesn't get the point across.
I think just going back to saying the houses in your neighborhood or your area that are selling at this price point that you think your house is worth have all this, or they have an updated kitchen, or they have a landscaped front yard. I mean, things that you can pinpoint. If they say, oh, well, our yard is landscaped, well, then you have to maybe go the next step of saying, well, actually, this house has, X, Y, and Z, and yours is missing this. Yeah. So I think sometimes you have to kind of make it black and white, and you never know. You might hurt someone's feelings, but I try and do it in a way that I am trying to make the house add value and not downgrade what they have right now.
Exactly. So listing presentation, this is kind of a cheesy question, but because sometimes we get set in our ways. Do you ever bring I've heard some people I've even talked to agents who bring the listing agreement to the presentation and let's get this signed and then we'll start talking. I can do that.
Yeah.
And then you got other guy. I don't bring it at all.
Some of the top agents in Houston are known for that. If they walk in, even if there are other agents competing for it, they walk in with that listing presentation and they say, I have everything signed, ready to go. Let's just be done with this. Let's sign it. I'll get it on the market in 2 days. And people feel pressured, and some people I have a hard time saying no. So I feel bad about hurting people's feelings. So I'm sure I'm not the only one out there. So if someone's putting something in front of you saying, let's just get this done, this will be great, and, really pumping it up, it's really hard to say, no, I'm actually going to continue interviewing some agents. And I've heard of that happening a lot of times. And I've heard of other agents at Compass in my office have gone on listing presentations against other brokerages, and they get a call saying, oh, we actually already signed with this person. They just made it really easy and they had everything ready to go. And I will never do that. That is not my thing. I think that is putting someone in a bad position. Going back to the beginning, I want someone to hire me because they want to work with me, not because they have to or they're being
pressured. Or they're pressured.
Yeah. So
it's not a good foundation for a relationship.
Unless I know that person is for sure listing with me, it's a referral, they're not interviewing anybody else, I will not do that because that's not the reputation I want, and that's not the type of business person I am.
And talking about reputation, you've only been doing this for 8 years. That's not long. For this business, that's like a century.
Yeah.
Do you find, I've been doing this for 16 and I've probably really honed in on a market for the last decade. Mm-hmm. And if there's anything I could go back and tell my old self, or maybe not, is that, hey, all the things you're doing right, you keep doing them. You keep making the right decisions, because you will be shocked how many times and how often people remember you for it 10 years from now. Right. And the compound effect of you might have not gotten that deal if you would have been more aggressive, but you would have lost 20 more, or you'd have just been miserable and in a miserable line of business with miserable clients. Either or, it's not worth it. Right. But I am shocked at the compound effect of just being because there's some situations with you, I'm just I might get the list. It just doesn't feel good. I'm just not going to do it that way. and it's paid off.
Right.
What do you have to say about that?
I think real estate, signing a listing agreement or signing a buyer's rep agreement, it's a mutual decision. I think it has to be something that both parties want. I think if I was ever in a position where I was working with a buyer that the relationship was not working out, or if I went on a listing presentation and the sellers were demanding a certain price point that I knew they couldn't get, I would say, well, I'm so sorry, but there's no way I'm going to list this house unless it's, in this price point. So I think that you have to sometimes do that so you don't set yourself and your clients up for failure. And then if somebody else wants to take on and list that house, then great. But I think that, like, at this point in my career, I don't need to put myself in a position where I'm setting unrealistic expectations for everybody.
Exactly. Exactly. That's awesome. It's a nice place to be, right? Okay. So going back a little bit on, we've talked about I love the way you engage with your clients. It's just so, like our interview, we said, keep it simple and double your business but on this, it's the same thing. It's just very straightforward. You do a good job, take me or leave me. And that also is probably very appealing to the right people. Backing up a little bit, or that kind of takes us back a little bit, in your marketing overall and you're positioning yourself as a real estate agent to the community at large, what do you think? The first question I want to ask, and I'm going somewhere with this, is when people hear your name or see your name in Houston or in general as a real estate agent, because you're known nationally, what are the 3 words or 2 words people might associate with you and how you do business?
I don't know what the word that you would maybe use for this is, just availability for sure. I think that is a huge asset that I have, is that I am available to my clients like all the time. And anybody that I've ever worked with would 100% attest that if they need to get a hold of me, even if I'm in a meeting, I will send them a text that I will call them back when I'm done. I just never really like to have any strings undone. Like, I don't like not calling people back, especially if, we're in the middle of, in real estate, time is
especially clients. Right.
Yeah. So, if we're negotiating a deal, whether it's getting somebody under contract or peer negotiations, whatever it may be, there's always a timing deadline. And so you don't have time to wait 24 hours to call a client back when you are in the middle of trying to get somebody under contract. So I think availability is huge. And then I think, just, assertiveness. I think that I have my clients' best interests at heart. For example, I had some clients that had been looking for a new construction for over a year, and they have kind of been burned on trying to get a few houses, whatever the reason was, but it was stuff that had happened on the seller side or the builder side that this was not working out. And I found them a house off the market that was being built by a builder in Houston that was he's a very great, well-known builder. And I said, guys, we really need to look at this house. It's not on the market yet. And the builder kept saying, hey, we really don't want to get this under contract until we're closer. We weren't even planning on listing it till it was done. And this has been going on for 2 months, and we just finally are executing a contract today for it, because we kept pushing and trying and trying to get the numbers and everything to work. So my clients are getting basically their dream home, and they're able to customize it because I was persistent and wanted to have the best end result for them. I could have gone and sold them another house that wasn't as great, or I could have, told them just to keep waiting. But I knew that this was the house, and I said I would do everything I could to make it happen for them.
I love it. What would you say is that? So, because here's where I'm going. I'm going to the people who don't know you. Okay. People who don't know you, but they know your name. What is that brand? Do people know that about you even when they don't know you? Or what is your brand? What is your positioning that people know about you before they call you or talk to you?
I think if they have heard about me, I think they know that, I'm very assertive in trying to get deals done for my clients. I'm also available. I also obviously am very involved in the whole process from beginning to end, whereas there are a lot of top agents that you and I have discussed before, that you have a buyer's agent and you have a listing coordinator and you have this like that. So sometimes you're working with 3 or 4 people throughout the process. I have an assistant, and yes, she's probably in the picture here and there, but I'm going through the transaction process from beginning to end. So
and you have an assistant so that you can do that, so that you can be a part of that and hold your client's hand. So available, assertive, and involved. Yeah. Those are your 3 words.
Thanks.
We could do a marketing campaign now. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
We could do a cute little picture and or Becky Fry. My favorite with Becky is Becky's walking. She's dog walker, therapist, negotiator, whatever. And she's got a list of 8 things, and it's awesome.
I'll get our marketing team on that for my next step.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your marketing. How do you market yourself to make sure people know you have the right impression of you and you're attracting the right clients?
So I was a marketing major, so marketing and advertising I have a passion for it. I love it. I think marketing and advertising is very powerful. It's a great way to gain brand awareness, especially in a big city like Houston. So I try and do as much stuff all over the board, from magazine advertising to the Scout Guide to sponsorships for different charity events, kind of a little bit of everything and all of the demographics and age ranges. That way, people, whether they see me as somebody that's selling this price point or this price point or this neighborhood, that I've kind of hit everything. I think ultimately, whether you're getting the point across of what you do or what you sell, I think you're creating such great brand awareness that when somebody says, oh, I need to use real estate agent, and maybe your name has come up, oh, I've seen her name all over the place. She definitely would be a great person to call and interview. So I think I've done a little bit of everything. I've even done some national advertising with the private client team that I think has been really helpful. And working on a relo guide for the Houston market.
We were talking. Tell us a little bit about that.
So in Nashville at the retreat, the Compass retreat back in the spring, the private client network, a lot of people brought some of their marketing materials to share with the group. Because it's always great to have fresh ideas and new things that might work in your market as well. And Aaron Krieger's team had done a relocation guide for Nashville, and she gave it to everybody, and it was really, really nice, well done piece. And I brought it back to Houston, and I told our marketing team that this would be such a great asset to have for not only people moving to Houston, but for local people. And it has everything from restaurants, shopping, all the different neighborhoods, a little bit about them.
Wow. And then I didn't get a copy of that, by the way. I'm going to have to give her a really hard time.
Yeah,
so is it a book or a pamphlet or a gatefold or a?
It's a soft. It's not a hard cover book. It's a soft book, but the pages are thick and glossy, and it's just really nice. It talks about all the major events in Houston. It also has all the utility providers. So even if you're local or not, you have this great source.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a really nice piece. We've been working on it since I got back from the retreat in the spring, and it's just now going to be finished this week.
Wow. I'm writing on my to-do list now. I was taking notes about our interview, but now I'm actually have a to-do list over here. Yeah. And call Aaron and give her a really hard time is on my list right now. That's incredible, because that's a great way to market and position for people moving to, or it's your people moving to. Well, here's what it is. It's great for your sphere of influence, and it's great for people moving to Atlanta. And I always say, focus on referrals, not just going after people for business. Mm-hmm. And when you focus on those referrals, make it easy for people who love you to refer you. Do things that make them proud to refer you. Do things that make it easy, like giving them a relo guide to Houston, Texas.
Well, and another thing is, I don't know, I haven't spoken to any of the vendors that are that I've listed as like restaurants or retail or whatever. But, I'm hoping that maybe a few of them I can drop some of these off, and it'll be good brand awareness for me and for them as a restaurant or a retail store, because they're going to be featured in this great book that people might pick up and take and use on a day-to-day basis.
And do you have kind of like a little write-up on different areas of Houston and what they're like? And
yes, I have a list of like pretty much all the neighborhoods that I work in, maybe a few other ones within the Houston city limits. And it talks about the neighborhood, maybe a picture of one of the houses I've sold. And then I don't have a map or anything, but it kind of gives you a little bit of a description.
When am I going to get a copy? Because I need to give it a copy to everybody moving to Houston. And I have clients. We talked about this, but I have good friends and clients in Houston as well. They're not doing anything, but they're
you can send it to them.
I just want to use your marketing material.
We're supposed to have it by today. So as soon as I have it, I'll shoot you. I'll mail you a copy.
Awesome. Okay, great. Okay, so all of that said, big picture you're focused, you're serious. You're not the stereotypical agent just going after business. You're strategic, you position, you're candid, you're available, assertive, and involved. What would you say, is this just, when you got into business, did this just kind of happen naturally? Or there's some lessons you can give us that kind of landed you in figuring out this is the way that works and suits me and wins business and is best for my client?
Well, I definitely had some advice from people that either have been in the business or have been in a service type industry and from the beginning. And it was just, referrals has always been kind of the name of the game for me. Just very, do a good job for your clients and more will come. That's really how it's been. And being as professional as possible in all situations when it's regarding business. And then also just, making connections along the way, whether it's with people in the mortgage industry or whether it's people in the investment industry where they often get questions, hey, what realtor do you think I should use? And I think if you build relationships with a lot of these outside third party, then I think that, it'll speak for itself. And I think you'll continue to get all different avenues of referrals. So I think as many people as you can kind of touch and have your hand in professionally, then I think
do you find that because you are touching and reaching out in a lot of places, but I would bet there's a boundary to that, which is where do you go? Okay, this is the client and the market that I serve and serve well. And this is where it's really better that I not allocate time or that I refer it to an agent or that how do you make that decision? Because there's a good level of diminishing return.
Right.
Or what do you think about that? I'm kind of throwing my own opinions in there.
There's definitely a lot of agents that will take referrals for suburbs. So whether that's Katy, Sugar Land, the Woodlands, Kingwood, I know the areas, I've been to them, but I don't work in those areas. And I think that it's a disservice to your client. And I think we talked a little bit about this in our last interview. I will say that's not my area of expertise. I think you'd be better off using XYZ agent because you cannot be an expert in all of the inside loop, outside loop, and all the surrounding areas of Houston and the suburbs. There's just no possible way you can spread yourself that thin.
Exactly.
So I think
go ahead.
I just think it's better that you focus on your top areas that you know well and you keep up with the market because that's how you can serve your clients the best.
And I think that's key because you're reaching as wide as you can, but as wide as you can within your area of true expertise, because you're not just an agent going and grabbing deals. You're an agent that has a market and knows what you're doing. And that's where your value is and how you do show up at a listing presentation. And you don't show up to give a pitch, or to correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm hearing is you're not showing up for the pitch. You're showing up because you've already been positioned in the community as an agent and positioned yourself with your knowledge as an agent and your ability to come in and listen to them and learn what they need, and that wins the business.
Right. Because you want to make sure you're the right fit for that person too. Like we talked about before, if they're, we want to look in the Woodlands and in the Heights. Well, if you want to do that, then you need to work with an agent in the Woodlands, and I can help you with this neighborhood. So you have to make it work. Like I said, this is a double-sided relationship, and you cannot, if it doesn't work for you, then you're not going to be doing anything positive for your clients.
And a question for you on that. I love what you just said, because I think a lot of agents would say, well, the Woodlands with one agent, but they're going to be looking in the Heights with another agent, but what's in it for me?
Yeah.
How do you just, because I've got some examples. I've had the exact situation happen to me, like literally in the last 30 days. Yeah. How do you you kind of find an agent and have an agreement on, you work this market, I work this, and you kind of co-op it, or?
Yeah. So I think if it was my client, I would say, hey, they're looking in 2 different areas. If they end up buying in your area, then you can give me a referral fee. And
exactly what I do.
Yeah. And then you can always, if they just show them like a handful of houses, you can offer to pay them for their time. I think in our business, that we spend a lot of time with clients that don't always pan out. And that's just the nature of the industry. Not every deal, not every client that comes our way, you're going to get paid for it. That's just the way it goes. And I think everybody has to, like you win some, you lose some type deal, but you can't get frustrated. I mean, I just had it happen. I showed clients houses in the Heights for over a year, and they decided they wanted to move to the Woodlands because it made more sense for their work commute. And I just referred them to a Compass Woodlands agent, and it's fine. It just, it doesn't always work out the way you plan.
But you come out, I think to the point though, is that when you do that, you look so much better because you're doing what's in the best interest of your clients. And when you're thinking dollars and cents and time and best use, the referrals you get out of that and the problems you avoid are just the compound effect of doing business that way is just so valuable. Yeah. And the referrals you may be getting back from that agent.
Right. And they asked me, they said, do you can you help us in the Woodlands? And after I had spent a year with them, I kind of wanted to be like, well, yeah, maybe I do. But I said, no, I don't know the area well enough. I don't know the direction to guide you in. You're just much better off working with somebody that works only in the Woodlands.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. So we've touched on, Mark, really, I think our focus has been, how do you position yourself as opposed to pitch yourself? And how do you position and how do you prospect? We haven't really talked. I'm going to touch on this, then I'm going to do our final 3. But on prospecting, is there obviously we talked about advertising and branding. We talked about people are sending you referrals. Do you have any direct activities you do that are actually prospecting for this business, especially somebody doubling their business every year?
I mean, not really. I think just being really involved in the community is always a great way to meet new people and for them to get to know you personally before they decide to make a decision. I think the more relationships you can build, the better for anybody. I'm involved in several charities. I'm on boards of a couple organizations in Houston. And so I get to meet new people all the time. Schools for my kids, and that's another avenue of getting to know new freshies.
Yeah, but that's still positioning. So you're just positioned. Like you never once talked about how you ask for business or ask for referrals.
Yeah, it's just about where you are and who you're around, those relationships that you make. And I never make my relationship based on, I hope that they use me to buy or sell. I make my relationships based on the connections I have. And of course, if the connection's good, then I'm sure that they would at some point consider me for the real estate needs, but that's not my priority in doing all
I love that. Do you ever directly ask for referrals or business?
No, I don't. I never ask for business. I don't even, honestly, even if going to dinner with close friends or even going, to different events and meeting new people, I don't ever bring up real estate unless somebody asks about it.
Luckily, they ask about it a lot.
Yeah, if people say, oh, like, what do you do for a living? And a lot of people always like to know, oh, well, what's going on in the market? I heard this and that. So yeah, I mean, I definitely end up talking about it, but it's not something I bring up.
That's a great thing to bring up though, because when people say to you, what's going on in the market? What do you ever say like some people are like, oh, it's great. It's good. Or do you have statistics you share or like, because that's obviously a great little break in for people to understand how good you are. How do you answer that question? Or does it depend?
I think it depends. I mean, the market right now in Houston it hasn't been the best. Ever since the beginning of summer, it's really slowed down. It hasn't really picked back up like it normally does in the fall. And I think a lot of people are feeling that. And I think that's why I'm so heavy on listings right now is just because it takes longer to sell. But I do think that we don't have as many buyers out there. And I don't think anybody really knows exactly why that's happening because interest rates are so low right now. And I think they're going to drop again next week. And I don't, people are kind of like perplexed by it. But I think I talk a little bit about just the overall market in general. If they ask about a specific neighborhood that I work in, I'm able to kind of give them more insight as to like what price point's selling, what price point's sitting, if it's a neighborhood that I have a new construction listing in, I know how many new construction listings or how many spec homes are being built in that neighborhood. So I definitely have a good insight for the most part. I might not be able to tell you how many houses closed in that neighborhood last month, but I would have a rough idea.
Great. Yeah, that helps a lot just because I think some people don't realize when they're, that would be newer agents, but sometimes even agents that we're kind of used to getting business and just being in it. Yeah, market's great. So it's always good to actually know the answer and make sure you engage a little bit on that. I know I'm saying the obvious, but sometimes the obvious helps us all.
Go ahead. I think it just depends on what they want to know. I mean, some people just ask making conversation, and I think some people are truly interested in.
And it's like, not really, just kidding. Like, just kidding. Didn't need to know all that. So sometimes a great response is, why do you ask?
Yeah, I just feel them out. Like, if they're asking a lot of questions, then maybe I'll talk a little bit more in depth about it. But if they're on to the next, then our conversation about real estate is over.
See, there you go, listening again. So what are we going to name this? Like the listening podcast, how to listen and blow it out, and triple your business. So final three. Now, what were you saying?
I said that would be great. Triple your business.
So, well, you may very well at the rate you're going. Final three questions.
Okay.
Number one, and I asked you this before, but we're going to ask you again in case it's changed or you want to reiterate anything, or in case you forgot, and we'll see if it changes just for fun. But what do you find is the most powerful tool for your business? Maybe in this case, specifically in positioning and branding yourself and winning business.
Yeah, I think I talked about like a lot of the Compass tools that we have now with having bridge loans just added to Compass. I think it'll be really big. I've had a few calls about that already, wanting to know more about the process. Just such a great tool that I'm excited to explore and hopefully get to use with clients in the future.
Yeah.
Of course, our marketing and our advertising team. I mean, I think the more you can get, more brand awareness you can get, the better. So that's obviously a huge part of my business is that.
But really, the Compass tools is some of it, but the bridge loan, or all of it, the bridge loans and having that marketing team behind you.
Yeah.
Next, if there's one book that you feel has most empowered you, what is that book?
Yeah, you asked me this last time. I have, like I said,
it's always the same.
I don't have time to read books. It's just not part of my agenda.
Audibles. Audibles is the best.
Yeah, I put my computer up and I go to bed at night. So I'll let you know when I have time for a book.
Yeah, we never split the difference. I'll give y'all a book. Everybody already knows that. They've heard it so many times, but it's seriously, I read other books and I just go right back to that one.
There's a lot of books that are on my list that I would love to read that I keep seeing, but I just, like I said, I just haven't found the time yet since my kids are so young. I read a lot of children's books.
Are there any that apply to business? Because sometimes there are. There's some really good lessons in those for all of us.
Yeah, I don't I don't think there's any princess books that are applying to business right now.
And I think on that, what I think is funny, a book's coming to mind, so I'm just going to share it with everybody, but there's Never Split the Difference. And then the other one that I've not read yet, but I've got to read. And I think it's funny because we've had so much focus on positioning, prospecting, branding, because that's really that's where you don't need the pitch.
Right.
But pitch anything. And I'm a lot like you in that way. I find that like, if I've got to come in and pitch you, no, like I need to get in that room and we need to have some synergy. There needs to be, and
right.
We just need to feel good about it. And if I've got to pitch you, maybe this isn't right. But on the other end of that, Matt Breitenbach introduced me to the book Pitch Anything. And he talks about using that in presentations. He just competed for a listing in the Hamptons, and there were 7 brokers being interviewed. And it was with a member of the Parliament, of the United Kingdom Parliament, and he won the listing. And he said a lot of that was being able to communicate to him when he's competing with that many brokers, the difference of him and Compass to get his house sold, which I thought was interesting because I think you and I have a more similar approach as they call us, because by the time they call us, they've heard about us, they know us, they feel good about us, and we're the girl.
Right. And I think that's great. But I'm going to put that book on my list because I think it sounds like a good one.
We're going to have to read it together before Miami and share notes.
Maybe we'll all read it in Miami. That might be the first time I get it.
See, for me, when I get to Miami, I'm like, read? I can't read. Yeah. Last question. Okay. From this interview, if there's one thing that we need to make sure we take away, what is it?
I think it's just, sticking with the values that I've talked about, just being available, being assertive, was my third. Involved. And always just being honest with your clients and really trying to create that relationship with them to where that they feel like that they can trust you not only as their agent, but as, on a personal level. So those are the values I've really stuck with from the beginning of my career. And I think that they really worked well for me. And I think that's why I've been able to continue getting the business I do.
Awesome. Caroline, thank you so much for joining us. Houston, Texas, Atlanta, Compass, Jere Metcalf podcast. It's been awesome having you.
Great.